Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about cellular respiration. In eukaryotes, cellular respiration occurs in the mitochondria. Cellular respiration is necessary for all forms of life. It converts glucose into ATP, energy we can use in our bodies. Plants use solar energy to create glucose through photosynthesis. However, animals have to consume it.
The reactants of cellular respiration are glucose and oxygen, and the products are carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. This process includes 3 steps. Step 1 is glycolysis. Step 2 is the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle. And step 3 is the electron transport chain.
Glycolysis is a process that occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. This process splits 6 carbon glucose molecules into 3 carbon molecules. The resulting molecule is called pyruvate.
Glycolysis technically doesn't require oxygen, but it is a part of cellular respiration. There are 2 parts to glycolysis, the energy requiring phase and the energy releasing phase. In the energy requiring phase, the glucose molecule is rearranged and 2 phosphate groups are attached to the ends of the glucose molecule. In that process, the cell takes in 2 ATPs and releases 2 ADPs.
The addition of the phosphate groups makes the glucose molecule unstable and results in the splitting of the molecule into 2 separate 3 carbon molecules. The 2 resulting molecules could be DHAP molecules, which will be converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. In the energy releasing phase, through a series of reactions, the 2 glucose molecules are transformed into a pyruvate molecule. This process takes in NAD+ and converts it into NADH. Along with this process, ADPs are converted into ATP molecules.
These processes are repeated twice, resulting in 2 NADH molecules and 4 ATPs. Since the process requires 2 ATPs, there is a net gain of 2 ATPs. The final product is called a molecule called pyruvate. This process is aided by the enzyme found in most high organisms and microorganisms.
Now that 2 pyruvates have been created, they must be oxidized through a process called pyruvate oxidation before the Krebs cycle can begin. Throughout the Krebs cycle, enzymes help to facilitate each step. Once the pyruvates have entered the cell's mitochondria, specifically the matrix, during this process 1 carbon is removed from each pyruvate by means of oxidation, creating the 2-carbon compound of acetyl coenzyme A or acetyl-CoA. At the same time, NAD+ reduces to become NADH, and the 2 carbons that were removed from the pyruvates combine with oxygen and are released as CO2, a waste byproduct thanks to decarboxylation.
Acetyl-CoA is now catalyzed by enzymes and combines with the 4-carbon compound called oxaloacetic acid to form the 6-carbon compound citric acid. Through a series of steps, citric acid is then oxidized until it becomes oxaloacetic acid again. During this oxidation process, CO2 is formed from the 2 carbons that citric acid loses in addition to the reduction of NAD+ to become NADH, the reduction of FAD to become FADH2, and the creation of ATP from ADP. This cycle of oxidation occurs for each individual pyruvate and continues creating a total of 8 NADHs, 2 ATPs, and 2 FADH2s. The products of the Krebs cycle, specifically NADH and FADH2, are high energy molecules that donate their electrons to the electron transport chain.
The final step in cellular respiration, called oxidative phosphorylation, includes the electron transport chain and chemoosmosis. These processes use the products of glycolysis and the Krebs cycle to produce a large amount of ATP and water. The electron transport chain uses 6 NADH and 2 FADH2. The NADH and FADH2 carry hydrogen and high-energy electrons to a series of embedded proteins on the inner membrane of the mitochondria. These electron-carrying coenzymes cycle throughout the mitochondria.
The NADH and FADH2 release the high-energy electrons into the protein chain. NADH and FADH2 become NAD+ and FADH as they drop off the hydrogens. As the highly charged electrons pass through each protein, energy is released, which pumps hydrogen ions into the inner membrane space.
The hydrogen ions that have accumulated in the space form a protein gradient across the membrane, which allows them to be pumped back into the matrix using an enzyme called ATP synthase. This process is called chemoosmosis. The rush of hydrogen ions into ATP synthase releases energy, which allows a bond to form between phosphate and ADP, creating ATP. From one glucose molecule, 32 to 34 ATP molecules are produced.
In the last step of cellular respiration, the oxygen we breathe combines with the electrons from the chain, and then joins with hydrogen ions, forming water, a byproduct of this process.
Oxygen is called the terminal electron carrier because it accepts electrons from the chain. Cellular respiration in total yields 6 CO2, 6 H2O, and 36 to 38 ATP.
Thanks for watching!
Cellular respiration in total yields 6 cellular Stop looking at me like